Lately, my sewing shed has gotten a little out of hand and super unorganized. So I took a bit of time and organized my fabric and patterns and came up with a solution for both things. So first what I did was just empty out my tea cabinet, what I usually just store random things in. And I realized a lot of those things I didn't need in my shed any longer. So I cleaned it out, and then I got all of the fabric from around the studio that was just shoved in random places. And I cleaned the cabinet really well with thieves cleaner. And then I just started folding my fabrics in no particular way, just where one side was pretty clean. I know a lot of people use like a cardboard to put in the middle of your fabric and make sure it's all folded perfectly, but I knew that was something I wouldn't sustain in the future because it takes a lot of time, so I felt like this was something I could keep up with best. So I just started folding my fabrics and semi-color coordinating them and kind of taking note of how much of each fabric I had for future projects. And I'm so excited about these fabrics and being able to see them in full view, so when I'm working on a project I'll know exactly what I have. And there are even some fabrics that I had forgotten about, so I'm really excited that I now have them in an organized space. After organizing them and folding the fabrics, some I knew were just enough to use for scrap fabrics. I have a specialized bag for scrap fabric that I'm going to go through soon and start to create a scrap quilt. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of fabric that I have saved for future projects are old clothing items that I think are really special but I no longer wear. So some of these I have been saving for years and I'm just waiting for that perfect time to use them. I will link below a blog post I have and a highlight on Instagram of my favorite resources for fabric. In between organizing, I took the time to test a new slipper pattern that is coming very soon. Now that I have my fabric organized, I'm going to organize my patterns. My previous system was to use a binder clip and clip all of the patterns together and hang them on my clothing rack, but I was running out of room and I also didn't like how messy it looked. Sometimes it's nice to have them hanging and being able to grab them quickly, but it was just a little too busy for my brain. And since I ran out of room, I was even just stacking them and laying them wherever I could find room. So I gathered all my patterns. So I made this template for the patterns, put on the front of all of the clear envelopes that I found on Amazon, and so I'll link those below. So I just filled out the template with the information about each pattern, and I went ahead and just did a little doodle of the pattern and printed that out so I could easily identify what the pattern was. This part was actually very just soothing. The whole day of organizing was actually super enjoyable. And so I folded all of the patterns to fit inside the envelope and organized them according to size. Some patterns, if the sizes were similar, like a large and extra large, I put them in the same envelope just to save room and save envelopes. So I found these envelopes and I like that they're clear and I like that they're larger than the normal envelope you might find a pattern printed in. So I found these baskets at Target and they were super inexpensive and they fit perfectly on my clothing rack. And now my patterns are in full view and I'm just so thankful to have an organized studio now, and hopefully it'll stay this way for a while. Thanks so much for watching and organizing with me. I'll be back next week with a tutorial, and I'm going to have a few tutorials coming out soon, some new patterns, and so if you'd like to stay up to date, you can subscribe and follow on Instagram and all of the things. So I'll see you next week.